Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Metro Outer Development Assessment Panel. I declare the meeting open at exactly 9:30 a.m. and I acknowledge we're hosting this meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respect to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters, and community. The meeting will be run in accordance with the DAP Standing Orders 2024 under the DAP Regulations 2011. The meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the DAP Regulations. Panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce our members today. My name is Dale Page. I'm the presiding member today. With me in the room to my left, I have Clayton Hyam, who is the deputy presiding member, Eugene Coltaz, specialist member, and Councillor Dawn Jex, our local government DAP member from the city of Rockingham. And online we have Councillor Mark Jones, our local government DAP member, city of Rockingham. Apologies have been received from Councillor Lorna Buchan from the city of Rockingham. We have no members on a leave of absence. Item 4, noting of minutes. All minutes of all previous meetings are available on the DAP website. Move on to Part B of the agenda, City of Rockingham. Item 1 is declaration of due consideration. Panel members need to have considered all the documentation contained within Part B of the agenda and the Part B related information that was uploaded to the DAP's website. Could I please confirm by a show of hands that this is so? Thank you. Disclosures of interest. We have received 2 declarations of impartiality interest, one from Councillor Dawn Jex and one from Councillor Jones, who both participated in a council meeting where these items were heard. We note the standing declaration of interest that if the agenda items have been considered at a council meeting, the local government DAP members acknowledge that they are not bound by any previous decisions or resolutions of the local government and undertake to exercise independent judgment in relation to the matters before them. The DAP Executive Director and myself are therefore comfortable that you are both able to participate in discussion and decision making at this meeting. Do any other members have any interests they'd like to declare? None? Excellent. Let's move on then to item 3, which is the Form 1 DAP applications on our agenda today. The first item, 3.1, is lot 9002, Settlers Avenue, Baldivis, proposed fast food outlet, DAP number 25/02843. We have one presenter on this item today, Mark Ray from Planning Solutions, who is speaking for the recommendation in the report. Please come forward, Mark. I believe Mark is joined by Dr. Edmondson, who will also be available to assist with answers. Mark, you have been through this before, so I'll remind you that in accordance with our DAP standing orders, presentations are limited to 3 minutes. We read the information you've provided, so I will call you to time. Get close to your 3 minutes.
Thank you, presiding member. I don't expect to get close to 3 minutes, but thank you. Good morning, panel members and the city's officers, Dave and Casey, for coming down. I'm representing the applicant this morning in support of the proposed GYG fast food outlet at the Stockland Shopping Centre. I'm also joined by Donna Edmondson, Senior Development Manager at GYG. We are pleased to receive the officer's recommendation to approve this application subject to conditions, and we thank the city's officers for their collaboration and engagement throughout the application process. We have reviewed the recommended conditions of the city's RAR and do not request any amendments to the conditions at this time. The RAR has comprehensively assessed the technical planning items and the merits of this proposal. In relation to the existing on-paper parking shortfall at the centre, as documented in the city's RAR, a parking utilisation and demand survey was undertaken to assess the existing parking demand and also the availability of parking at the centre in the post-development scenario. This analysis demonstrates that adequate parking will be available to cater for the parking demand at the centre in the post-development scenario. This is also supported by the city's own investigations and assessment as documented in the responsible authority report. Finally, this development proposal is appropriately located at Stockland Baldivis Shopping Centre alongside existing fast food outlets disconnected from the main street and also fronting Safety Bay Road. For these reasons and the reasons outlined in the city's RAR, we respectfully request the panel approve this application. Thank you for your time.
Do any members have questions of this presenter? I might start with Councillor Jones. Do you have questions of the presenter, Councillor Jones?
I was just out of interest in regard relating to parking. It's almost like does the applicant expect a certain percentage to be drive-through rather than dine-in? I guess is there based on their other stores, do they have some sort of percentage or?
There is an element of drive-through customers versus dine-in. They vary between operators. Donna, did you want to answer that?
It's generally around that 40% would be drive-through.
Okay, so that's surprising that you actually get more dine-in. So, because I know the existing, fast food establishments along there, they're probably more drive-through, I would say, but it's but thanks. That sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No? Yeah, no further questions, presiding member. Thank you.
Councillor Jacks.
Nothing from me.
Any other panel members?
What's your understanding of Mission 13? Extent. I'll ask the staff that as well. But...
Sorry, one moment. We don't expect there actually is much city streetscape assets that will be affected by this proposal.
It's not limited, it just says along Safety Bay Road.
So our proposal doesn't impact any verge infrastructure within the Safety Bay Road verge. So on that basis, I don't think there's a problem with the condition. There may not be a need for it. I'm happy to take the city's view on that, but we think we can comply with it on the basis that we don't think we're affecting any of that existing infrastructure.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? No? All right, thank you, Mark and team. We might then invite questions of the local government officers. David Manovich with us from Rockingham for this item. Are there any questions any member would like to ask city officers? Councillor Jones, starting with you again. Any questions of the city officers?
No, thank you.
Councillor Jacks?
It's all covered, I'd say.
Not for me, thanks.
Same question.
Thank you for the question.
It just seems quite open-ended. It says along Safety Bay Road, so it doesn't say adjacent to the development site.
I guess the intent is there to ensure that any assets within the road reserve which are owned by the city are protected, and if there is any damage caused by the result of this development, those assets are made good. So it's more so that there is some landscaping and pylon signs proposed on the edge of the site, adjacent to the verge, and there's also a footpath. So in case there's any damage to any assets, I guess that condition covers us to go back to the applicant requirement to make good of the damaged work.
So how do you know the damage is caused by the applicant?
I think there is an advice note number 4, where we recommend declaration reports undertaken prior to works being undertaken. So if the applicant wants to do one, that would certainly help resolve the issue if there was an issue. If they didn't, then it's hard to say whether we would know exactly what has caused the issue.
Thank you.
On that, how would you know that they caused the problem?
Don't know.
Okay. All right.
As I said, for the dilapidation report,
That's a start.
that would certainly help their argument was the issue.
Yep. Okay. One more question.
Go ahead.
Just in relation to condition 6, what's the planning basis, town planning basis for that one?
Yeah, so that's the condition that was generally given to commercial developments by our fund. specific to developments that may generate some sort of an emission?
No, I'm asking whether it's got a planning basis to it. It's coming out of the Health Act, isn't it, or the health
Yeah.
regulations?
Isn't one?
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, let's move to the report then. There is a responsible authority, a report in the agenda before you with a recommendation for approval, subject to conditions. Can I seek a mover and seconder for the recommendation, please? Anyone wish to move it? Jex, anyone wish to second it? Clayton, thank you very much. Councillor Jex, you have the floor.
Thank you. Look, this is a pretty straightforward application. It's covered all the aspects that we normally expect from developers. A nice tidy report. Of course, we've got the coverall in there with under 13 just in case. Admittedly, it's hard to sort of prove who did what if there's damage, but I think it's a nice tidy coverall. It's just something that the city routinely does to protect ourselves as much as we can. Good to hear that we don't have an issue with parking. Parking's often a biggie with a lot of these developments. And essentially quite happy. We've pretty well covered everything and I see it as quite uncontentious.
Thank you, councillor Clayton.
Thank you. Yes, look, I'm more than happy to support it. I will foreshadow a slight change to one of the conditions, but it's well located in the shopping centre, which is in a commercial precinct anyway. The parking shortfall I can accept because of the work that's been done in the parking utilisation demand survey. So I'm satisfied that we've sufficient parking for this development. What I want to do is to delete condition 6 and make that advice note 5. I'm seeking to move that, and the reason for that is I don't believe it has a planning basis to it, and
Thank you.
it shouldn't be in there.
All right, so you seek to delete condition 6 and shift it to an advice note because it will become advice note 5. Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Thank
Second.
you, Jean. Do you wish to speak further?
No, I
to that
think it's
amendment?
quite straightforward.
Do you want to speak to it? Do you
No.
wish to speak?
No, leave
Does
it.
any other member wish to speak for or against that amendment? No? All right, I will put that amendment to the vote then. All those in favour? Carried. Well, against? Councillor Jex, thank you. Carried 4-1. Back to you, Clayton. Anything you wish
Okay,
to add?
no, just to say that finally, that's generally compliant with the objectives and requirements of the city planning scheme and policy, so it's quite easy to support.
Thank you. Does Councillor Jones, do you wish to speak for or against the primary motion?
I'll be voting in for you. I agree with the commercial zoning and basically an existing business they're converting. So I'm quite happy and satisfied with the assessment and the report and the conditions, further conditions imposed. So thank you.
Thank you. Jean, do you wish to speak?
Just to say that I support it. It covers the planning framework. The main issue in the responsible authority report was parking, and I think that that's been covered in terms of the shortfall, the parking utilisation, and the fact that this particular development is on the periphery and likely to impact the majority of the parking that goes to the centre. So built form, it's got a lot of signage on it, but it demonstrates the usage and the occupant of the tenancy, and the fact that it doesn't comply with some of the built form requirements under the scheme. Its location doesn't really require it, so I'm supporting the application.
Thank you. Yes, I will also support the recommendation to approve. Although discretionary use, it is appropriate for a district centre and aligns with the requirements of the activity centre structure plan, the objectives of the city's local commercial and activity centre strategy, the Baldivis Town Centre policy and the city's policy on fast food outlets. It'll be located close to other fast food outlets on the Safety Bay Road frontage and will replace an existing car wash facility with an improved build form and presentation to the surrounding area. Although The proposal will increase the technical parking shortfall due to the removal of the 41 bay. Occupancy surveys have given me comfort that there is more than enough parking available on the site, even at peak periods. The city has verified those findings and agrees that supply consistently exceeds demand. So the proposal will not negatively impact the parking availability on the site, and the broader centre so happy to support. Councillor Jex, as mover, would you like to close?
Look, I think this will be a welcome development by the local community and residents, and it's an appropriate place. It ties in with all the regulations and plans for the area. So other than that, nothing further to add. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We can therefore put that primary motion as amended to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to item 3.2. Thank you. Lot 9505. Wombro Sound Avenue, Golden Bay, proposed childcare premises at number 240280. We have one presenter on this item today, Alessandro Stagno from Apex Planning, who is speaking for the recommendation in the report. I believe that Alessandro is joined by Scott Ferguson, and Scott is online. Alessandro, I remind you that you have got 3 minutes to speak under the DAP standing orders. When you get close to your 3 minutes, I will call you to time.
Thank you very much, President Member. Thank you very much, Presiding Member. Good morning, panel members, city officers. Thank you for making the trip down from Rockingham. I'm the applicant of the early learning facility proposed at the corner of Wombro Sound Avenue, Glenberg Drive and Wyloo Lane. The application is recommended for approval by the local authority. The RAR is comprehensive, covers all the planning considerations as part of their assessment. So we've outlined in my presentation request to the panel. The only modification we're requesting is 4, to ensure the way that staffing is enforced through the approval does not create operational or regulatory impacts to Greenland, the operator. Currently, condition 4 imposes an upper limit of 18 staff to be employed by the centre, which will not allow support staff to attend during the day to ensure children are still supervised while educators take their breaks. We've discussed this modification with the city prior to the meeting and presented alternative condition wording prepared by the city during our discussions. The new condition 4 will require the parking management plan to be updated to provide more detail regarding support staff arrangements and to be adhered to for the life of the development. We appreciate the collaborative approach by the city and are satisfied that the revision to condition 4 will enable the facility to operate as intended and required by Greenland. Of course, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jones, any questions of this presenter?
Yes, please. I just had one regarding condition number 2, right, relocating the outdoor store. I was just wondering if the applicant has found a suitable location, because I guess I sort of saw merit having it in the corner of the property. I guess by moving it, you might have some issues, but just wanting some feedback on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Look, I mean, our first preference would have been to keep it where it is, but we've investigated and reviewed it. We can relocate it to the southeastern corner. The important consideration with the outdoor store is that it's not positioned in a place where it's going to inhibit sight lines through the outdoor play area, because obviously there needs to be direct line of sight for supervision. We can relocate it to the southeastern corner. It's not the preferred position. Definitely prefer to keep it where it is, but we can make it work if we need to.
Okay. Yeah, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Jex, any questions of the presenter?
Nothing from me, thanks.
Does any other panel member have a question?
No.
I had one, but Councillor Jones grabbed it. So we were on the same page with that one. Thank you very much. We might move to questions of the local government officers now. We have David Banovich back with us and Casey Gillespie, I believe, from the City of Rockingham for this item. Councillor Jones, any questions of the local government officers?
No, nothing from me. Well, good report. Thank you.
Councillor Jex?
Nothing from me.
Any other panel member?
No.
No. I might just ask you, how comfortable you are with the applicant's request to substitute condition 4 with the wording that they've provided.
Very comfortable, given that we provided the word.
Might be, just needed to check for the record. Thank you very much.
Don't
If there are
object to the wording.
no other questions for the city officers, we might move to the report. And we are looking at a recommendation in the responsible authority report for approval. Can I seek a mover and seconder for that? Anyone wish to move that recommendation? Councillor Jones, anyone wish to second?
I'll
that?
second it.
Thanks, Jean. Councillor Jones, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'll be supporting the application and the conditions. I'm probably happy with the amending condition as well for condition 4. Yeah, basically in Golden Bay that there is a number of childcare centres already, and I guess we had some objections from the residents in regard to the need and also just access and parking and things. So I guess they have been addressed, and I'm comfortable with it due to still the need in the area for additional childcare centres to enable people to work and in the community. So yeah, nothing further. But so just do support, and thank you the city staff for the assessment and the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Jean.
Yes, look, the site is good for a childcare centre. I mean, we look at co-locating these sorts of facilities in or near commercial areas, and this is one that does that. The objections that were lodged as part of the advertising period, the need for another centre whilst competition wasn't raised, just looking at the area at its rapid growth and young demographics, the number of centres is justified, and in time, of course, I'll probably be looking for another use in these premises as the population ages. Traffic and access were not an issue in this regard, below the threshold of 100 or more vehicles per hour. Noise can be controlled by the walls that around the perimeter, and the noise evaluation report that went with it looked at other measures that are conditioned in the report. Signage, given that it's got virtually 3 street frontages, a little bit of extra signage wasn't seen to be an issue. Car parking, well, like most of the childcare centres, the utilisation rates show that peaks and troughs occur during the day, so a small shortfall can be supported. In terms of the other issue, environmental, was fuel odours from nearby sources, being a service station. That one's been previously addressed and shown not to be a problem for the locality. So all in all, I support the application and commend the officers for a very good report.
Thank you. Councillor Jacks.
Nothing much to add other than condition 16. It's nice to see we've got some good arrangements that are proposed in terms of the landscaping plan, given the childcare centre, and the environment is really important to the residents of the City of Rockingham. So nice to see that included in there as something reasonable. That's all. Thanks.
Yes, look, I'm happy to support the proposal, and there's really not much more for me to say. The comments made by Member Coltaz very comprehensive, and to repeat those. The only thing I would do is to propose an amendment to condition 4, or to delete condition 4 and replace it with the proposed wording staff.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that amendment?
Second that.
Thank you, Jean.
That condition provides better clarity and better understanding of the staff or likely staff movements, rather than putting a very, very strict limit on staff numbers as the current condition does. So I'm happy to support that amendment.
Thank you. Jean, do you wish to speak to it?
No.
No. All right, unless any other member wishes to speak for or against that amendment, I will put that amendment to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously.
And just one other minor change. I note I'm going back to condition 19, which was the same sort of condition in the previous report, where this one, the other one said the owner stroke applicant. This one only says the applicant is responsible. Conditions run with the owner of the land, and therefore I think we should put the word owner back in there as per the writing or the way it was written in the first report. So I'm adding the word owner, oblique stroke applicant is responsible.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that amendment? Thank you, Jean. Do you wish to speak further to that?
No.
If there is no member that wishes to speak for or against that minor amendment, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
Other than that, I'm more than happy with the proposal.
Thank you. I too will support the recommendation for approval, although in a use, the facility will be located directly adjacent to a neighbourhood centre. Given the design and scale of the centre, it's my view that the proposal meets the objectives of the residential zone. I'm therefore satisfied that the proposed use is an appropriate use for the site. The city's assessment of the proposal demonstrates compliance with their planning scheme, the principles and requirements of the local development plan applicable to the site and relevant planning policies. I note there's a minor parking shortfall proposed, but accept the city's justification in support of the shortfall. I note there were 4 objections received during public advertising of the application. Some of the issues raised in these submissions related to need, whether there was a need for an additional childcare centre, given the presence of other centres in the surrounding area. But the issue of need and demand is not really an issue for this panel to consider when considering a proposal for a childcare centre. The issue of access, traffic and noise are relevant issues for consideration, but I'm satisfied that the access proposed is in accordance with the local development plan, and the traffic impact statement provided by the applicant demonstrates that the proposal will not have any significant impact on the surrounding road network. Further, the environmental noise assessment provided predicts that noise from the centre will fall within the noise regs, and appropriate conditions have been recommended to ensure this occurs. So happy to support. With that, I will hand back to Councillor Jones as mover to close.
Yeah, no, it was a good synopsis, and thank you for all your comments. Yeah, no, just again, I just agree. It's a residential area, but really abutting commercial, and it's a discretionary use. So it's not that. It's probably a suitable location for a childcare centre, and with all the conditions and as per the design, I support the recommendation. So thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, I will put the recommendation in the responsible authority report as amended to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 3.3, lot 429 and 430, Kerosene Land, Baldivis, proposed fast food outlet and service station, DAP number 24/02829. We have one presenter on this item today. Again, Alessandro Stagno from Apex Planning, speaking for the recommendation in the report. Sandro, your 3 minutes starts when you are ready.
Thank you very, very much. Good morning once again. I'm the applicant of the commercial development proposed for Kerosene Land. The developments comprise of a 24-hour service station and fast food outlet to be established on an existing neighbourhood centre site, which is anchored by a 24-hour sponsored facility. The proposed uses are integrated into the car park of the shopping centre and positioned at the corner of Kerosene Lane and Hannibal Way, which we believe is an appropriate location, noting that it has no interface with sensitive uses and is easily accessible to community and passing traffic. The city has prepared a comprehensive planning assessment. The RAR deals with all the key considerations which relate to the proposed uses and has demonstrated the development appropriate for the site. As part of my presentation materials, I've requested a second look at two conditions forming the recommendation for approval. I'll try to quickly step through these with the time I've got, and of course have to delve deeper during question time. Firstly, we're requesting a modification to condition 5, which relates to the setback of proposed freestanding signs to Kerosene Lane. The currently required setback of 1.5 metres is problematic because the service station sign can't achieve this without amending the driveway for the service station forecourt, and the fast food outlet sign would end up with diminished visibility because it'll be buried further behind the drive-through canopy and landscaping in the front setback area of the service station building. Instead, we've proposed a 0.5 metre setback from the Kerosene Lane boundary for both signs, which we consider to be a reasonable compromise and achieves a more appropriate outcome. The 0.5 metre setback will not require any internal changes to the development. It means the service station sign will not be at the curb's edge of the forecourt, and the fast food sign can still fulfil its intended purpose while achieving its offset from the street boundary. Secondly, we're requesting the deletion of condition 14, which requires a pre-occupation acoustic assessment. To be honest, this condition took us by surprise a bit, as no acoustic assessment was required for the assessment. Additionally, information put forward in the presentation materials that the site is so detached from residential properties that there's no need to require the acoustic assessment. Pushing proximity aside, the development site is completely screened from residential properties located further south along Annabelle Way by the Spudshed facility, which has an approximately 3 metre high concrete tilt-up wall along its perimeter. It's our respectful submission that the acoustic assessment is not necessary or warranted, and hence our request for condition 14 to be deleted. Thanks again for considering my requests, and of course happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jones, any questions of this presenter?
I guess, yeah, I'm happy with the sign reduction to 0.5. Just in regard to the noise, I mean, I guess the development still needs to comply with the environmental noise regulations, but you don't see, I mean, what's the main source of noise from these uses? Is it, can you advise? Or?
Well, really, if there was going to be any main source of noise, it would be from the fast food outlet, which is on the western side, because that's closer to Annabelle Way. But all of the noise sources from that particular development site are going to be physically screened by the Spudshed facility itself. But not only that, the fast food outlet facility is over 60 metres away from the closest residential properties, doesn't directly front any sensitive uses whatsoever. So, I mean, the legislative requirement to achieve compliance with the noise regs applies to all development all the time. It's about whether it's reasonable or not to require the acoustic assessment to be prepared. If it wasn't considered to be necessary for the purpose of a DA assessment, can't really see why a preoccupation assessment.
Yeah, but just to follow up, so the main source of noise is like extractor fans and things like what, I mean, I don't feel that, like compared to a childcare centre where you've got a bit of noise from children, but from a fast food, is it refrigerating and exhaust, would you say? Is that
the accessible noise from the fast food outlet is usually the drive-through lanes where people make the order. It's the mechanical plant.
Okay, so the actual speaking into the drive-through and things.
Yeah, that's usually what they assess, and they also assess the use of car parking bays as well, the opening and closing of doors. Again, all of those areas are quite well separated from residential properties, and they're also screened by the Spudshed facility itself, which has a 3 metre high wall along its perimeter.
Yeah. So just for the applicants that haven't been to the site, yeah, there's the massive Spudshed building operates 24 hours a day. So I see your reasoning, but I'm keen to hear other panel members. Any concerns? Thanks. Yeah, no further questions from me. Thank you, presiding member.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Jacks, any questions of the presenter?
No, nothing for me.
Any other panel members?
For me, thanks.
I note there's a crosswalk going from the fast food outlet across to the Spudshed, across the car park to the Spudshed site. And that takes up a car bay on the Spudshed site. They agreed to a loss of a car bay.
Yeah, so lot 429, I think, is actually the Spudshed site itself, and the landowners have consented to the application across both of the lots. Okay. They're aware of the change.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. No more questions for this presenter. We might get David Bogdanovich back to the table from the
can start asking questions. This is just David, I think.
I think that there's a question on the sign.
Okay, I was going to say, I wasn't sure if we had seen that information, but if this is fine, if it's linked to questions.
Easy
All
to
right,
explain if there is a question.
good, thank you. Councillor Jones, any questions of the city officers on this one?
Just in response to the noise, the condition requiring the pre-assessment, just do you have any further comments on why it's required?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. We went back to our health department, clarified the reasoning. And the reasoning is because it's still within proximity to residential development. They thought at the time that would be appropriate because the condition also requires mitigating measures for mechanical plants, for example, to consider whether acoustic levels can comply with the noise regulations. Upon further consideration, our health department thought that it's probably sufficiently separated, noting that this budget also operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And our health department is generally comfortable that if there are any noise-related concerns resulting from this development, they can deal with those at the time without an acoustic assessment. So on that basis, we're not contesting the retention of that condition if the intention is to remove that condition.
Any other questions, Councillor?
No, that's all the questions from me. Thank you.
Yes, please. Just interested to hear what our officer has to say about the amendment to condition 5 in terms of with it tying in with the city's. We've got our own signage sort of policies, etc. Just wanted to hear your thoughts around that. If you're comfortable.
It's easier to bring up the plan. So just on that slide, you can just zoom out a little bit so you can see the other 2 images. So the top right image shows, based on our measurements, which we use for trapeze, which is a standard local government tool for assessment, the scale is 1 to 400 on the plans. And once you use that scale to measure the width of the sign, that sign actually measures at 2.7 meters. But if you look at the elevation of the pylon sign, the actual width of the sign is 2 meters, not 2.7, which basically then gives the impression, if you take the 2.7 width and you include the 1.5 meter request, that it can't fit within the verge, within the landscaping strip. As you can see in image 1, there is a proposed 1.5 meter setback, and then the 2 meter setback behind for the pylon width, which also provides a 0.3 meter clearance from the edge of the sign to the paving for the truck movement. So we're comfortable that the sign based on the meter width can comply with the existing strip. And we also consider it's a better outcome in terms of improved sightlines.
Thank you. I'm going to just, on that, Councillor Jack, so that's a good question, and thank you for your explanation. I'm going to go back to the applicant for a second. Could you just come forward for a second and you don't need to move, David, just take a seat next to David. Can we just get some clarity from you on this intended, so if what we're hearing from the city is the sign in reality is smaller than they thought, or than what was thought, and if you were to shift it to the 1.5 meters, it should not be an issue, as you may have suggested. Could you comment on the size of that sign, please, and on the information provided?
Thank you for the opportunity. I had measured it based on what was on the site plan, or what was on the elevation, but just to go back and clarify something. So, sorry, Dave, did you say that the remaining offset from the curb's edge, based on your measurements, was 0.3 meters?
Yes.
30 centimeters isn't a whole bunch of give, especially when it's next to a very regularly trafficable area. So I think from our point of view with the service station sign, the idea was that we would like the sign to be positioned centrally within the landscaping strip rather than too close to the road or too close to the driveway. I don't really see sight lines as being a huge issue in that particular location because it's an entry-only crossover. It's more about making sure that that area where fuel tankers have to maneuver through regularly accessing, you don't want the sign to be too close to the curb's edge. So I'd still be arguing that 0.3 meters is far too close to the driveway and not far away from not far enough away from the street boundary.
Okay, thank you. Back to David. Can you tell us what your primary concern is about the location of that sign to the property boundary? Is it only a sightline issue that you have concern about, or is it something else?
Well, I guess first of all, I just want to acknowledge that two variations are being sought for this sign. One is the height, and we've conceded to that. And is the location of the sign proximate to the front boundary. So in terms of, I guess, what our concerns are, it comes down to sightlines, but also public safety, because the sign is adjacent to a footpath. So we just want to alleviate the risk of people that are walking the footpath that they're not hitting into the sign. Half setback. Fit within the landscape strip provided, and I can't see what the concern is about a 300-metre buffer within the landscape strip because it's curved.
I think that's okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a question then with a follow-up question? So how far would the sign be from the footpath if it was centred?
I believe it would be 2 metres because the footpath, where the property boundary ends, there's about a ½ metre garden bed. And then footpath, so if you take the 1.5 metres that we're recommending, plus the ½ metre offset, it would be 2 metres from footpath.
So if it was centred in accordance with what Sandro is seeking,
It would be a metre.
metre, so you've got a metre, then your footpath. So it's unlikely, I imagine, that someone would walk into it if there's a metre.
Probably not, otherwise they're not paying attention.
Have them nearby.
Thank you for that. Councillor Jex, back to you. Do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. Any other member?
Presiding member, can I just have a follow-up as well?
Sure can.
Yeah, I'm just confirming that crossover is, it looks like it is an in and an out. Can that be confirmed? Because I think the applicant just said it was an in only.
I can clarify that for you. The entrance to the forecourt is entry only. There's entry only line marking.
Oh, into the forecourt itself, yeah. But yeah, sure. If people are exiting back onto Kerensey Lane, that's a potential, yeah. But and also you're saying there is already a small landscaping strip between the property boundary and the footpath for the sign for the service station. So yeah, I guess if it's again, there's a slight buffer, and then we're looking at least ½ metre inside the property boundary. But I hear both sides of the argument anyway, but just wanting to clarify that. Thank you.
Councillor, any other member have questions for the city officers?
So I haven't responded to the other sign.
Right, go ahead.
Respond to that. So if you just go on the second slide. So just to note here that we're still comfortable that if you set back the sign away from the front boundary, Hungry Jack's promotional sign will still be visible heading east and west, because it's hard to see now unless you zoom in into the actual elevation, but there's nothing below 1.3 metres from the base of the sign that's being advertised. So on approach, when you're coming towards the site, you will still see the Hungry Jack sign in either direction. We're also comfortable that if you were to set it back, it will not lose its visibility if you're going east or westbound on Kerosene Lane.
Okay, thank you for that. As per my previous question, what is the issue for you of having the ½ metre setback for the Hungry Jack sign? Is it just non-compliance with the policy, or is there an actual issue with that non-compliance?
Well, it's not compliance, but also having regard to the policy requirements.
Outside of that, though, is there a sightline issue or a potential hazard to pedestrians? What's the physical implication?
That won't be as much of a pedestrian issue, but we think it can be done in a compliant way. And I forgot to mention that tree could also be removed if the concern is sight visibility of the sign.
Thank you. All right, any other questions of the city officers? All right, we might then move to the report for this one, and I would like to see a mover and seconder for the recommendation in the report before you. Anyone wish to move? Anyone wish to second? Thank you, Jean. All right, before I speak to the primary motion on this one, I'd like to move a couple of amendments. Amendment to condition 5 to replace the required setback of 1.5 metres with a setback of 0.5 metres. Before I get into the reasoning for that, could I have a seconder for that amendment?
Second.
Thank you, Jean. Look, I essentially, as per the applicant's submission, the monolith sign can't achieve a 1.5 setback from the boundary without requiring modification to the adjacent driveway and curb line, which will reduce the available driveway area. And at 1.5 metres, the visibility of the fast food sign outlet may be diminished by the drive-through canopy and landscaping in front of the service station building. When I listen to the arguments presented by both sides, I am never one to have a concern with something simply because it doesn't comply with the provision of a policy. Provisions of a policy are there to guide our exercise of discretion. In this case, I'm comfortable that the proposal still meets the objectives, and I'm not satisfied that the reasons provided are strong enough to warrant forcing that sign at 1.5 metres. So that is my reason for amending the condition. Jean, do you wish to speak?
They were basically my reasoning as well, presiding member, and I think that given the location, they're fairly well set back from the edge of the footpath and gives clearance to the footpath, and internally the proposed location by the applicants won't affect sightlines for movement through the centre, the service station and fast food outlets. So I'm supporting that.
Thank you. Is there any other member that wishes to speak for or against that amendment?
Madam Chair, I'm more than happy to support the amendment, and I endorse your comments about the use of policy and wanting to apply something just because the policy states that. I think it's more appropriate to look at the potential impacts physically and to see whether or not the policy can be adjusted to suit the local circumstances.
Thank you. All right, unless there's anyone else that wishes to speak to that amendment, I might put that amendment to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. I'd like to then move a second amendment, which is to delete condition 14, which requires a pre-occupation acoustic assessment to be prepared. Do I have a second for that? Thank you, Councillor Jones. Look, the reason for that is ideally, if there is a potential concern that a development might have issues or cause issues in relation to noise, that should be picked up as part of the application documentation, because if there are any design issues that need to be addressed, it's through the development application process. So I don't think it's appropriate to require something post development and pre-occupation, which then might throw a spanner in the works at that point in time. And as per the information provided, the city's own report states it's unlikely that residential amenity will be adversely impacted by the proposed development because it doesn't have a direct interface with sensitive receivers, and noting the separation distances and the buffer provided by existing development. And I will also note that by us deleting this condition doesn't mean we won't ever be able to address noise. If there are noise issues that pop up in the future from this development that weren't anticipated and they exceed the noise regs, it is well within the city's ability to take compliance action at that point. So I don't think it's appropriate at this late stage to require a pre-occupation acoustic assessment. Councillor Jones, do you wish to speak as seconder to the amendment?
I think you've carried it, presiding member. Just to agree that, I think the condition is not required as a condition of planning approval. There is, safeguards in place if there was noise issues in the future. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Does any other member wish to speak for or against this amendment? No? Right, I will ask us to vote on that amendment. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving back to the primary motion, then I will be supporting the recommendation for approval. The site falls within a neighbourhood centre with a commercial zoning, and it's my view that the proposal is an appropriate use for the site. The intent and objectives of the commercial zone is generally consistent with the integrated development guide plan for the site and aligns with the city's policy on fast food outlets. It'll also not unduly impact sensitive land uses in the area due to separation distances from those land uses and buffers created by existing development. I note the proposal will increase the existing technical parking shortfall on the site, but I accept the city's justification in support of this shortfall, including the outcomes of the parking survey undertaken by the applicant. There were 5 objections received during public consultation, but really only 1 submission was received from someone living near the site. The others were not. The issue of need for the proposed uses was raised again, but need and demand are not really issues for this panel to consider when considering a proposal like this. The issue of amenity was raised, but these are uses that are well suited to a centre like this, and any potential amenity impacts, including traffic and parking and impact on public health, have been appropriately addressed in the city's report. So happy to support the recommendation for approval. Does the seconder wish to speak to the primary motion?
Did I second that? Oh, sorry. I thought you did. Okay, yes, look, I agree with the comments that it fits the planning framework for the locality. It's the initial structure plan through that area, the state local structure plan set out the general framework for the location of uses within that shopping centre. The referral agencies had no issues other than a slight difference of opinion between Department of Water and Health Department regarding site contamination issues, although they've been addressed and it's a remediated site. There was no issue with bushfire issues, State Planning Policy 3.7. And the separation distances to sensitive land uses have been addressed with the service station, the odour studies, the vapour recovery units that they're incorporating within the development. The signage, well, that's been supported. The fast food policy, local planning policy 3.3.9 has been addressed. The car parking, there was sufficient detail in the transport impact assessment and also council's comments regarding the shortfall for the centre, and I see that the surveys revealed no problems, so I'm supporting it given the conditions that have been applied to ensure compliance with the approval.
Thank you. Does any other member wish to speak for or against this primary motion?
I'm more than happy to support the proposal. It fits within the planning framework, including the integrated development guide plan. The parking has been addressed, and the parking utilisation survey has indicated that there is spare or available parking, and there is plenty of parking available on site. I note the concerns of the community members that did object to it, but as has already been said, they have really been addressed either through conditions or maybe not appropriate given the nature of the site as a commercial location. I also note the extensive technical work undertaken on potential fuel vapour impacts, but I'm satisfied that the systems proposed are adequate to minimise vapour to an acceptable level. I just want to go back to condition 6, which I dealt with in a previous report, and proposing that be deleted as it is not a planning condition and be moved to the advice note becomes advice note 7.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that amendment?
No, I think it's self-explanatory.
Do you wish to speak to the amendment?
No.
Does any other member wish to speak for or against that amendment? In that case, we'll put that amendment to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously.
So just to wind up, I am happy with the proposal. I think it's appropriate for its location and
Any other member wish to speak for or against? Nothing to add, any of the councillors? No, all good, all been covered. All right, well then, as mover, I do not wish to add anything in closing. So I will now put the primary motion as amended to the panel. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you for that. Moving on then to item 4, the agenda, Form 2 DAP applications. We don't have any today. Item 5, section 31 SAP reconsiderations, also none on the agenda today. Part C, other business. Item 1, SAT applications and Supreme Court appeals. SAT applications, all SAT applications for the DAP are listed on our website, none of which relate to the City of Rockingham. With that, I declare the meeting closed at 10:26 a.m. and I thank everyone for your attendance. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, presiding member. Thank you, panel members. Yeah.